The fact that a woman was killed, she was shot in her head, and y'all are pretending like nothing happened. I remember when Charlie Kirk got killed. Do you remember what our response was? Our response wasn't to sit there and pretend like it was okay. Is it okay because you have a badge? Because the last time I checked, allegedly no one is above the law. Can y'all not just have a little bit of courage and humanity? A child. Child has lost her mom. And y'all want to pretend that it is okay.
Dallas Congresswoman and senatorial candidate Jasmine Crockett from the U.S. House chamber yesterday channeling the grief that all of us are feeling over the ICE killing of Renee Nicole Good in Minneapolis on Wednesday, along with the frustration over the callous conservative reaction to such a horrific and completely avoidable tragedy. It's Friday, January 9th, 2026, and this is the Progress Texas Daily Dispatch. Rapid response on the breaking news stories Texas progressives need to know. I'm Chris Mosier. Protests spurred by the killing of Renee Good broke out across Texas last night. Jared Wardwell and Caroline Wilburn at the Houston Chronicle say State Representative Christina Morales led a vigil at Houston's TBH Center along with State Senator Carol Alvarado, State Representative Jean Wu, and members of the Houston City Council. And the Galleria area in Houston saw another large group converge at the corner of Post Oak and Westheimer uptown. Juliana Duenas-Russ and Dante Motley at the Austin American Statesman say both the capital city and neighboring Pflugerville saw demonstrations last night as well. In Austin, an Indivisible-led protest was held at the intersection of 45th and Lamar, notably the location of perhaps the city's most notorious Chili's restaurant, and some of Austin's heaviest rush hour traffic as well. Statesman reporters say drivers were laying on their horns as they navigated the suddenly crowded intersection yesterday. More ominously in Pflugerville, a large gathering of demonstrators crowded around an unmarked ICE facility adorned with barbed wire and security cameras. The Dallas Morning News says the same happened in that city last night, with a crowd of over 400 converging outside Dallas City Hall, led by the National Alliance Against Racism and Political Oppression, whose Elise Damra told reporters something I'm hearing for the first time this morning, that footage from the scene of the Renee Good shooting in Minneapolis shows Good handing out whistles to neighbors who had gathered to protest the presence of ICE agents on their street. In a statement, Dallas City Council member Adam Bazaldua says of the Good killing, quote, "This is just the latest example of how our rights to simply exist are not only being threatened but compromised. This type of lawlessness is exactly why we as a city council stood firm with our Dallas Police Department chief and told ICE that they are not welcome in our city," unquote. The expiring tax credits for Affordable Care Act coverage that were central to the federal government shutdown late last year are back in the news as the U.S. House has passed a 3-year extension of those subsidies. That extension faces difficult prospects in the Senate, however, where it would need 13 Republicans to join a unanimous Democratic vote to pass. Gabby Birnbaum at the Texas Tribune notes that Republican Congresswoman Monica Dela Cruz of Edinburgh was the only Texas Republican in the House to join the United Democrats, both further blurring that partisan line for voters in that part of the state, but also bringing it into stark contrast. The message to those voters in the Valley, especially the approximately 350,000 of them who depend on the Affordable Care Act to keep themselves and their families healthy, is that Monica Dela Cruz is an extreme outlier here. Senate Republicans and Republicans in general want to send your ACA premiums through the roof. And should they fail to do so, Donald Trump is all but certain to finish the job. Republicans hate Obamacare, plain and simple. If you depend on ACA but vote Republican, you are quite literally voting against your own interests. I noticed a tweet yesterday from perennial Republican candidate and loser Don Huffines, who's running once again, this time for state comptroller. His tweet, quote, "President Trump puts America first. It's time to put Texas first," unquote. My reaction to that is that actually Trump puts Trump first, and that Texas, as it's currently run anyway, also puts Trump first, which I think is pretty well proven by this next story, also from the Texas Tribune, that state officials have handed over our entire roll of voters to the Trump Department of Justice, obeying the dear leader's demand for access to all of your voter data and that of the rest of Texas's 18.4 million registered voters, including sensitive identifying information such as birth dates and partial Social Security numbers, as the DOJ undertakes a new effort ahead of the midterm election to remove voters it deems to be ineligible. 23 other states and Washington, D.C. have refused this order on the grounds that sharing such private information is not only illegal, but that it undermines election oversight authority at the state level. They're all now being sued by the DOJ for their insolence. The Democratic National Committee and other critics have raised urgent concerns regarding voter privacy and the likelihood that eligible voters, possibly you or maybe me, could end up purged, calling this DOJ effort a federal power grab. Legal experts point out that federal law prohibits systemic voter removals within 90 days of an election, which would render any immediate removals by the Trump DOJ ahead of the Texas primaries in March illegal. As of this last December 23rd, thanks to Texas Secretary of State Jane Nelson, Donald Trump, dear listener, officially has your number. Mark your calendar for 6:30 p.m. on Tuesday, January 13th, this next Tuesday night, for a statewide online meet and greet session hosted by the funky East Dallas Democrats, better known as the Feds, featuring a bunch of our statewide Democratic candidates, including both Senate candidates, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett and State Rep James Tallarico. Looks to be great, and will run about 1 hour. See the link in the show notes to register. Early voting in the March primary starts on February 17th. See the show notes for a Texas 2026 March primary ballot form from the Texas Tribune that you can use right now with your home address to see who's running in the primary in which you choose to vote. A great tool to use to look into these candidates and actually know who they are and what they're about before you head to the polls. Super handy and something you really should have already started looking at. Please do so ASAP. And of course, everything you need to know about registration and voting in Texas can be found at our website, govotetexas.org. Our mission at Progress Texas is to improve and save Texans' lives by acting on our shared, bold, progressive values, and that starts with countering the billionaire and corporate-funded disinformation machine. While we enjoy the support of hundreds of partners, chances are that you, dear listener, haven't joined the team yet. If you're a regular, let's get you on board right now. Huge thanks to monthly supporters Michael Springer, Sheridan Lee, and David Virgil. We appreciate all of you very much. And dear listener, join them and our team right now at progresstexas.org, where you'll also find our web store, which is ready for you to grab some newly released Humans Against Abbott, Y'all Means All, and Revolution t-shirt, stickers, and buttons. Hit the web store at progresstexas.org to support your favorite podcast network today. That's the Progress Texas Daily Dispatch for this Friday, January 9th, 2026. Links to all these original stories can be found in our show notes. Progress Texas is an independent, nonprofit, rapid response media organization. While campaigns come and go, we're the permanent home for progressive media and action in the Lone Star State. I'm Chris Mosier. Thanks so much for listening. Have a great day and a great weekend, and we'll see you again on Monday.